Wives, what purchase did you make that led to your divorce? My husband and I both have fairly high incomes. We each earn about $200,000 a year. We own our home with our mortgage paid in full. We also don't have any debts. We get to save almost half of our income. We keep most of our finances in a joint account, but we allocate $1,500 a month each as fun money to spend on hobbies, luxury goods, outings with our own friends, and the like. Because of his pricey hobbies, my husband usually spends his fun money from month to month, whereas I usually save the most of it as my activities are less expensive. I have been getting back into gaming lately. And having saved up more than enough of my fun money, I spent $5,000 on a new gaming rig and a really nice desk and chair. My husband flipped when he saw my new game setup. He accused me of financial infidelity. In my defense, I believe I was well within the guidelines of our set rules on how we should spend our leisure funds. He said he was actually upset because he believes I lack professional ambition because I'm not on the executive track like he is. Despite the fact that I work full-time, my husband said he wanted me to prepare fancier meals, set the table more elegantly, and dress up more for dinner. Yes, just like a housewife from the 1950s. So, the more I thought about it, the more his requests or demands sat poorly with me. I decided to try a little experiment over the weekend to see what would happen if I tried to meet some of his demands. Well, not because I genuinely thought they were acceptable, but rather because I was starting to feel like I was playing a losing game. The goalposts would simply keep changing. So, Saturday morning, I went to the salon for a glow-up, then went to the farmer's market to pick up fresh flowers for our table and assorted gourmet ingredients. Saturday is usually our date night out, but I suggested we stay in so I could make us a special dinner steakhouse style. Our menu included lobster bisque, a bread basket with several types of rolls, savory muffins made from scratch, crab stuffed mushrooms, filet mignon, au gratin potatoes, and white chocolate mousse topped with raspberries. I wore a lavender sheath dress, which is his favorite color, and high heels. I also did my hair and makeup. I was given a cold thanks, it was tasty and a peck on the cheek in exchange for all of that. Naturally, I handled all of the serving and cleaning. On Sundays, we usually go out, but he suggested I make us brunch at home. So I made French press coffee, mimosas with freshly squeezed orange juice, Belgian waffles with a banana foster topping, scrambled eggs with parmesan and fresh herbs from our garden, roasted fingerling potatoes, and maple glazed bacon. I wore a blue sleeveless sundress, witch sandals, and did my hair and makeup. Again, I got a thanks, it's good and no help with serving or cleanup. Afterwards, I questioned whether this was the criticism he had previously made of me. He said that this was a start, but that I was acting very entitled by wanting credit for basic adulting skills. He then revealed that the reason he was being so harsh with me was because he had recently come to the realization that I had a lot to make up for because I was a low-value woman. I asked what on earth he meant by that. And he said it was because I had been with other guys when we first met. We started dating at 21. I was upfront with him then that I'd had 2 previous partners, my high school boyfriend and another boyfriend I had my first year of college. Both were very committed relationships. He continued by saying that I would have to make up for his low opinion of me for the rest of my life. I should consider myself fortunate that one person wanted to marry me because I didn't deserve monogamy or to be treated equally. In addition, he's connected with someone from work, so I'd best do something to keep him. I told him it didn't sound like there was anything to keep if he no longer loved me or even respected me. When I asked him to leave, he responded that he would be happy to go to his girlfriend's place. Anyway, I have taken the week off from work to get my head together. I have an appointment with a lawyer tomorrow. I canceled the marriage counseling appointment, but got a referral to an individual therapist who can do an intake session with me later in the week. He and his girlfriend are coming this evening to get more of his clothes and things, so I have to mentally prepare myself for that. I do not think I am low value in any way. I let my husband make me think less of myself on some levels for a short time, but now I truly see that he was the problem. Obviously, we don't share the same goals and values, and he has become someone I don't recognize. I know the divorce won't be fun or easy, but I will be okay. What family secret did you find out that changed everything? I thought it was crazy that me and my neighbor might be related. Turns out that was just the tip of the iceberg. Growing up, I was told by my adoptive parents that I was adopted at 10 months old. They've always been open about it, and even hung up a picture of me and my bio parents in my room. They even tracked down their grave and took me there once every 2 years. I'm now 27. I'm a nurse and I live on my own with my cat, Abu, and just a few hours away from my adoptive parents. I have a neighbor named Anna. She's a marine biologist, married and has 3 kids. We often chat when we bump into each other in the hallway or her kids will come over to my place to play with my cat. 4 days ago, I got a knock on my door and it was Anna. Turns out her nanny called in sick on her at the last minute. She was already late for a close friend's wedding and was wondering if I can watch the kids for a couple of hours while they're gone. She asked me if I could watch them at her apartment instead since her youngest is sleeping. I grabbed my stuff and went over next door. We played with dolls, played pretend and ordered food and watched a movie after that. So I told the kids to clean their toys before the food arrived, and while we were at it, I saw something that made my heart drop. I saw a picture of my parents. They looked so much younger and it was a different picture from what I had. I asked Anna's kids if they knew who these people were. They told me they have no idea who it was. My curiosity grew more and more. I texted my adoptive parents if they knew if I had any siblings. They told me they were not too certain, but in the adoption profile, it stated that I'm alone and without any siblings. A few hours later, Anna got home. I was curious to know and I couldn't wait any longer. I asked Anna who this young couple was. Anna told me it was her parents and they died when she was 6. She was then raised by her aunt. I was shocked, and I felt like throwing up. This can't be real. I have a sister. I went home and did some social engineering. I went on Facebook and Instagram to see what I can find. I found the profile of an old lady who I believe is the one that raised Anna. I see that she refers to Anna as her daughter, and I was looking at pictures and I found a rather similar picture to what my adoptive parents gave me, just without me in it. I called my adoptive parents, crying, telling them what I found. They drove for hours to come to me, and when I showed them, the 3 of us cried together. They told me that I should let her know. I gathered myself and yes, I spoke to Anna. I invited her to my apartment, away from her kids, so the both of us can sit down and talk about it. I showed her the picture that I have. She's as confused as I am. I told her that we might be sisters. I could see the tears building up at the edge of her eyes. She told me she wants to be excused. She left my apartment and I thought that was it. For a while, there's so much of what ifs. What if she's a cousin? What if the baby in the photo is not me? What if there was a mix-up at the adoption home? A few minutes later, she knocked on my apartment door. She brought her laptop, the photo of her parents, and her phone. We compared our pictures and yes, they're the same person. I showed my birth certificate and how I changed my last name during my teens, as well as my adoption papers. I told her that I have a birthmark on the left side of my butt cheek, and yes, she remembered. We looked at each other and we started sobbing. She came to hug me and told me that at times she couldn't believe that I'm gone because she loves me so much. She told me how she thought I was dead and that broke her. She video called her aunt, the one that raised her. Let's call her Lucy. When Anna introduced me to Aunt Lucy, she looked horrified. She even asked if Anna got mixed up because she was pretty sure I was dead. We showed her my birth certificate and all the adoption documents, and when she saw there was evidence, she started crying and kept on apologizing. Aunt Lucy was hesitating at first, but we told her how we deserved to know the truth. So here goes the side of the story that I never knew. Firstly, my parents died in 2 separate accidents. My mom and I had an accident first. I was fine, but my mom suffered multiple injuries, and when my father got to know, he rushed to the hospital to meet my mom, but he lost control of his car and crashed onto the road divider. Both died at the same hospital, just minutes apart. My sister got sick shortly after my parents' death and couldn't attend the funeral. My dad was a marine biologist, just like Anna, and my mom was a general surgeon. We have an uncle, let's call him John. So apparently, Aunt Lucy and Uncle John needed money. Aunt Lucy has lots of kids, hence she couldn't afford to raise both of us. Uncle John and his wife were into traveling and could use some money for their adventures. I have no idea how, but somehow, they managed to get whatever our parents have left us and split it into 2. I was given to Uncle John, but he must have placed me at an adoption home and then fled the country. All this while, Aunt Lucy knew about me and how I was placed at an adoption home, but she chose to keep quiet. A few years after I was sent to the adoption home, Uncle John and his wife came back to the nursing home to get me back, but they learned that I was already adopted. It's sad to learn his motives were to receive government reimbursement while I was under their foster care. I felt extremely lucky to be adopted by a family who loved, cared for, and raised me like their own. My adoptive parents were a mature couple when they adopted me. They tried to conceive for so many years, but it failed, and so it resulted in me being adopted, and they told me it was the best decision they'd ever made. Anna is not speaking to Aunt Lucy now. She told me how she felt betrayed and deceived all these while denying a sibling love just for her own personal gain. She's even looking into taking legal action against both of them. Anna and I embraced for a long time. There's a lot to catch up, and I'm excited that I'm an aunt to 3 beautiful kids. The feeling is foreign, but the feeling of being loved by a sibling is beyond words.
I just found out the true reason my dad wanted to start a business with me. In 2018, my dad told me he was planning to open a plant shop and asked if I wanted to help, since he was still working his full-time job and would not have the time to manage the shop. Now, my dad loves plants. The house is filled with them, and he comes home every day after work to care and check in with them. He's extremely knowledgeable about them too, and could tell if a plant was sick and how to treat it without ever having gone to school for it. He told me he really wanted to try it and hoped he could make something out of it. At this point, I had just gotten discharged from the military and wasn't doing much, plus it was rare that he would ask for my help, so I said sure. Within a week or 2, we opened the shop. We planned the prices, the stocks, he taught me the basics of how to take care of various plants, how to make terrariums to sell, and everything else I needed to know to run the shop when he wasn't around. We sold succulents, various flowers, bonsai, seeds, anything we thought looked fun and interesting. He sourced all of that himself. He came by every day when he had a break from work and even offered delivery services to customers. Unfortunately, the shop didn't last long. The rent was expensive and foot traffic was low, so he was essentially bleeding money. It didn't help that he insisted on paying me a full living wage either. Eventually I couldn't bear to see him work so hard and lose so much money and told him I didn't want to do it anymore. The shop then closed and that was that. I've always felt bad about how it ended, and regretted how I didn't stick it out longer with this thing he worked so hard for and loved. I decided that once I made enough money in the future I would help him restart this business. Cut to a few days ago, I casually asked my mom if my dad ever mentioned anything about starting the business again since he was so into it. She was confused at first, then told me the truth. He didn't start the business because he wanted to, he just wanted me to have something to keep me busy. I didn't mention why I was discharged from the military earlier, it was because I had attempted to off myself after a severe bout of depression. He came up with the business idea while visiting me at the psych ward, after I mentioned how doing nothing all day makes me feel worse. He heard this little comment of mine and just went for it. He knew he was going to lose money, but did it anyway. We're not rich by any means, and he used his savings to do this. My mom wasn't supposed to tell me any of this. He knew that if he had told me the truth in the beginning I would have said no because it was too much trouble, and if I found out now I would just feel bad. As long as it was something that helped me, he was okay with things as is. I don't know what I'm feeling about this. Like most Asian dads and sons, we've never really been affectionate with one another, not with words at least. He's always been more of a silent supporter type, showing up to every achievement and struggle I had. He never said that he cared, but visited me multiple times a day every day when I was at the psych ward. I want to thank him, but he would be uncomfortable. I want to say I love him, but he would do the boomer equivalent of cringing. I do plan to thank him at some point, but I'm also feeling uncomfortable because that's just not how we do things. In the meantime though, thank you Dad. I love you.
I'm cutting my sister off after she tried to add my husband on Instagram. I, 28 female, have finally made the decision to cut my 32 female sister out of my life because she tried to follow my husband on Instagram. For some context, my sister and I never had a great relationship. I idolized her growing up, and at times she was nice and sisterly to me, but we have different dads and she made it clear at a young age that she wished it was just her, our mom and her dad. She blames me for their divorce. My sister was definitely my biggest bully growing up. She'd beat me up, although I think most sisters did this, and she would always make fun of me for my looks and personality. She would also intentionally get me in trouble by pretending I attacked her, or she'd throw herself into a wall and start crying for our mom saying I pushed her. There were a lot of other things she would do, but that's a story for another time. Anyway, when we became adults she went off the rails. Dropped out of college twice, lost a lot of her friends, started partying and doing substances, and just became a bit of a mess. I tried to support her as much as I could, but she never wanted my help. She would try to flirt with my husband by bending over in short dresses without anything underneath and attempting to sit on his lap. This all made him uncomfortable, but I kind of let it slide considering her mental state. I regret that, as I should have taken my husband's feelings into account. He hated her, and still does, and whenever we have family events he tries to distance himself from her. To give a brief history of the past 10 years, because I could go on forever about the things she's done, she teased me relentlessly and told me I was boring after I was diagnosed with multiple heart conditions. She admitted in a drunken state that she intentionally sabotages social situations so that I feel outlasted. She threw a beer bottle at my head, and when I made her leave the room so I could clean up the mess, she told everyone I was mean to her and made her sleep on the couch. Then when I told them what really happened she said I was drama. She got drunk at my bachelorette party and tried to make it all about her. And then after my bridal shower the month before my wedding she told our whole family that my dad, who I was eagerly looking forward to walking me down the aisle, essayed both of us as kids. This is not true, but of course she waited for me to leave before telling anyone so I couldn't tell everyone the truth. I continue to keep her in my life because I love her and don't want family events to be awkward, but recently out of nowhere she deleted me off of Instagram and Snapchat. I thought it was strange, but then she friend requested my husband and I'm honestly just over it. This was my last straw. I think I'm just done with her. I know it's such a small thing to cut someone off over, but I just don't have any more F's to give.
My ex got her birth control taken out and didn't tell me until she was a month pregnant. Me, 28 male, and my ex, 36 female, were together for about 4 years and some change. After the first month she gets an IUD in. Now, I'm not fully knowledgeable about birth control and stuff like that, but she told me it would last 5 years until it needed to be replaced. Needless to say, that meant rubbers weren't an issue. Fast forward to last month when we're at the store buying stuff for lunch, she mentions that she's feeling a little sick and she wants to get a pregnancy test. Me being the idiot that I am just laughs thinking she's joking about, but it turns out she wasn't. I asked how she could be pregnant, and she revealed that she got her IUD taken out the month prior and didn't tell me. She takes the test and surprise surprise she's pregnant. I asked if we should take another test just to be sure, but she tells me this is her 4th test in 2 days and all of them said pregnant. Now, I'm not opposed to being a father, but when we started talking about either moving into my apartment or hers, she brings up her nephew moving in with us too. She has a younger brother, I think he's like 32 but never bothered to ask, and this guy's a mess and a half. He's had 2 sons that he ditched off on his mom, and my ex's mom has been raising them. I have no ill will towards the kid or anything, but I also don't have any love for him either. She isn't really around him enough for me to have that connection to him, but she considers him her son now. She got upset and told me I'm not fit to be a father if I can't take care of her son as well. I get that pregnancy hormones are a thing and all that, but now she's blocked me on everything, phone, Facebook, etc., and I don't know what to do. I want to be part of my kid's life whether or not me and her are together. It's a real rock and a hard place scenario for me.